Hey, English 101 students, Professor Norman here with a check-in video for you here for week 2. It's a cold, snowy day as I'm recording this, so I've got my scarf. And I've got just a couple of check-in kind of reminders, announcements, that kind of thing to talk with you guys about. Shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes here. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. As we're in week 2, the major thing that I want everybody to be totally aware of and to do the very best that they possibly can on has to do with a task called the reading reflection response. Right now, as I'm recording this, one or two people have already done it, and that's great, but I think this is one that a lot of people will be doing over the weekend, and that happens a lot. It's okay. But that's task 2.7 for this week, reading reflection response number 1 over Frederick Douglass's Learning to Read. And what happens is, or what I want everybody to be like just totally aware of, is that sometimes when people try to do it over the weekend, they run into problems, they run into a little bit of confusion about what's required, and you make mistakes. It happens to everybody, but I want to try and get out ahead of that as much as possible. So I want to take just a minute or two to remind you about a couple of things. So first and foremost, the reading reflection response assignment is like a mini essay. So if you're wondering what's the format or anything like it, should be in essay format. And in the reading reflection response section of Blackboard, there's a really good kind of template document. It's a Word document, Microsoft Word document format. You can download that, and it's in the format that you need to do it in. You just got to take out the words that are in there and put in your own words as it relates to Frederick Douglass and the pieces that are required. Speaking of which, there are 3 paragraphs required for a reading reflection response. That's it. So you just keep it very simple. You don't need a big long introduction, no conclusion or anything like that. Just 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is a summary, which you need to write in your own words about the Frederick Douglass story. The other piece is a writing reflection. You're writing about your environment as you're writing the reading reflection response. It's kind of this meta narrative type thing that you're going, okay, so I'm writing about my it's a little weird at first, but once you do it, you get used to it. It can be a very useful tool for just identifying how your environment is good and how it could be improved for writing purposes. So that's another paragraph. And then your last paragraph is a critical response paragraph, where you try and find what the most important lesson or moral or argument to come from this piece is. What is it about Douglass's life that we can learn something from here today in the year 2021? And then besides that, just remember that somewhere in the piece you have to have a quoted sentence, a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, of what you think is a really important line from the story. You can include that in your summary paragraph, or it could be a part of your response. Maybe it's a line that Douglass says that you kind of want to respond to a little bit more directly. That would be good too, but you have to quote it and you have to put it into the citation format. And of course, I've got some materials that are on Blackboard that kind of help you do that. The last thing that I've got on there is the works cited. You have to have a works cited bit of information. And what I did for that is I've got an entire block that has basically a fill in the blank type template where you just have to put in all the stuff that has to be in there. So it's this kind of weird format where you have to have all these different little pieces, but I tell you exactly what it is, and then I have an example up there using a different story, but it's basically the same type of story. You just have to, change some of the stuff so that it fits with, the story that we're using. Frederick Douglass, learning to read from reading the world. So that's something I really wanted to make you guys totally aware of. The only other thing that I ask you to pay attention to is just, when you're starting off your summary, make sure that you have a good, very simple, but very effective topic sentence where you mention the author's name, the author's name, the title of the piece, learning to read, and then the main point about learning to read. So, and you don't have to use this exactly, but this is just a little treat for those of you guys that actually watch this. A good topic sentence for this reading reflection response summary would be something like, Frederick Douglass, in his story Learning to Read, writes about his efforts to learn to read and write. Something as simple as that, one sentence. So if you have that in there or something very similar to that, you'll be in good shape. The trick is just to keep that short. those are the major requirements. And if you go to the 2.7 link, you'll click on that and it'll take you to the submission link for reading reflection response number 1, which I apologize was not showing until yesterday when someone alerted me that it was not working. If you don't have the textbook, that's okay. You can still use the PDF link that I have posted on the Blackboard site as well. It's all over the place, but it's in the week 2 folder. It's on the reading reflection response number 1 assignment. It's all over. Besides that, just want to kind of remind you that as I'm recording this on Thursday morning, we had a Wednesday night deadline last night. It was our first Wednesday night deadline. If you missed something, if you forgot about that Wednesday night deadline, just catch up. Do the best that you can to catch up, and we'll get into the swing of things. I'm not going to put a harsh point penalty on it, as of today or this week even, but by the time that we get into more like next week when we're kind of back on campus, or some of us are back on campus for some of our classes, I'm hoping that things will kind of be rolling like clockwork. Of course, reach out if you have any questions or if you've run into any major complications. I'll work with you however I can. And then finally, just a quick kind of housekeeping note from my end. I wanted to just let everybody know that I am in the process of starting to grade things. So you turned in a bunch of stuff last week, you're turning things in this week, and now I'm starting to grade. So you'll soon start seeing some scores on the Blackboard site come up, and I'll give you more information about that next week. But just so you know, if you were kind of like, has he graded anything? Before yesterday, not really. So that's starting to change, and will change over the next couple of days. I plan to grade a lot over the weekend, especially. So just be on the lookout for that. With that, that's all I've got for you guys for this week's check-in. Hope that everybody's doing okay. Stay safe and stay healthy, and stay as positive as you can. Email me, mnorman@binu.edu with any questions. Come by during office hours, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. or Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 a.m. And that's just through the virtual office. That's on Blackboard. So that's all I've got for you guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys next week.